Welcome back, viewers. I'm on with Senator Claudette Joseph of Grenada. We're discussing the setting of a minimum wage in the country and legal matters. Welcome back. So, to what extent, Senator Joseph, does this revision of the minimum wage impact on the poverty level in Grenada? Because the man who led the consultation and the review process for this, Colin Gilchrist, when he was on the program speaking about this very issue, talked about a 25% of Grenadians living in poverty. To what extent does this eat into those numbers and sort of shift things a bit? Has that been looked at yet? The impact it would have
Yes,
on poverty?
that was one of the things considered, because based on the available statistics, again, the poverty rate is assessed as including persons earning $650 a month or less. The minimum wages here average would be $1,200 a month, and so our intention is to lift more people above the poverty line, where they enjoy a decent quality of life, and where the living wage will better allow them to comfortably purchase that basket of goods at the same time as they educate their children and enjoy a few amenities.
But even at the minimum wage, right? And we know, and viewers, please, the minimum wage is not what everyone is going to. Every store clerk is not going to be stuck at $1,200. That is not what the minimum wage is. It is simply the legal limit under which an employer cannot go. So if you get a job and you want to, the minimum is $1,200 and your boss wants to pay you $1,100, then you need to call the Minister of Labor immediately. That's all it is. But it's, for me, I still don't see people who will now have a minimum wage of $1,200 or $1,400, and if their employers stick to that because they can get away with just paying them the minimum wage, I do not see how they can still comfortably pay for the most basic of items in the basket of goods. Things are really very expensive these days.
And that is so. In some instances,
people who make $1,200 a month cannot live well.
And that's why, Calistro, we must reiterate the point that you just made. The minimum wage is simply the wage below which an employer cannot legally pay its workers. The employer must pay that amount or more. And in most instances, what more is being paid, and what we have to do as government is to create the enabling environment that will allow for employers to comfortably pay their workers above the minimum wage. And that brings me to a point that featured very much in the consultations, particularly the public consultations that took place, and that is of productivity. Because while we lobby and work towards increasing the minimum wage so that people have a better quality of life, a higher living wage, we also must implore on our workers that you must give a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. You must produce, because the more you produce, the more the employer is able, because the employer makes more money. The more you produce, the employer has more goods and services to sell, which means more income for the employer, which means more ability on the part of the employer to pay workers better. So we don't want to be stuck in the mindset that the minimum wage is what all employers will pay. It is the basic, the lowest that the employer can pay. But the employer is encouraged to pay more so that its employees can give more, and we have a more robust economy. While we at the government level do our bit to have a stable labor relations climate, a buoyant economy, a safe place for people to work and live, um, and opportunities for young people to get into business, and for investors to come to Grenada. So we have to work to create the right environment for work and productivity. But the workers have to work too. People have to work as well,
Well, of course,
because
I
the money
keep
has to come from somewhere to pay.
every time I speak to the Public Workers Union, I talk about that because, my little VAT money is going into paying them, and I would like them to give a proper day's work for a proper day's pay. So I get that. But you talked about a stable labor environment, which
Mhm.
forces me to ask you, wasn't planning to, but forces me to ask you whether or not you truly believe that we have a stable, as stable as we should have, labor environment. The Public Workers Union, for instance, is not very happy with the government. They continue to complain about people who are arbitrarily dismissed outside of the rules that exist. That Karakou is still in the conversation, particularly with the workers whose jobs were affected very early on in the term of your administration. And they're complaining those matters have gone unresolved, still not resolved in the Department of Labor. Um, are we doing enough to ensure that the fears that people have, that they can just lose their job at a drop of a hat for what they believe are frivolous reasons, that people don't have to live in fear of that?
Let me put it this way, Kalistra. At the last Labor Day celebrations, almost all except one, in fact, of the union leaders alluded to the improved labor relations climate in Grenada. The labor representative in the Senate at a sitting of the Senate recently referred to this being one of the more peaceful periods in labor relations. And I don't think there could be any doubt, and I don't think anyone can seriously contend that this climate that we enjoy now in Grenada is not among the best that we've enjoyed in a long time, this labor relations climate, this period of peace and tranquility where workers and employers, especially the government as an employer, are enjoying a really good relationship. And even that one leader who was highly critical of government in his Labor Day address subsequently heaped quite a lot of praise on government on the occasion of the signing of the collective bargaining agreement between his union and government. So you don't have to take it from me. The workers' representatives are saying that this is one of the best periods in terms of good labor relations between workers, government, and particularly the government as an employer, and the workers. So I don't think that is in any doubt whatsoever. I want to also say that the Labor Commissioner and I inherited matters dating back to 2016. The fact that a matter is not yet treated with does not mean that it will not be treated with or it's not being given attention. I will share with the public that almost every day the Labor Commissioner sits in conciliations. I am told I have done at least a mediation, well, more than a mediation a month, because we are in month 9. We are in month 9, and I've already completed 10 or so mediations. And someone mentioned to me, in fact, someone in the union movement mentioned to me that never before has a minister attended so diligently to mediations and resolving disputes. So the fact that a dispute that is lodged with the Ministry of Labor is not yet resolved doesn't mean that it's put on the back burner or it's put in abeyance because who they employ is or anything like that. We are resolving matters pending 6, 7 years in the system, and that's a fact. So all matters that are lodged with the Ministry of Labor will be dealt with. But the truth is, there is a line. In fact, just last night, I was saying that to one of the union leaders who asked me about a few matters pending. I said, there's a line. And we are attending to the matters based on their vintage and urgency. Now, the talk of people losing their jobs, I mean, Kalistra, that is just, I would say, quite frankly, that is just a lot of politicking. A lot of politicking,
Do you
right?
think do you
Let me
think
let me
the no
finish.
no do you think the
Let me
leadership of the Public Workers Union is politicking too, because they came down hard on the government about people losing their jobs? In
but let me
fact, the
let me
public
let me say
relations
something.
officer Daisy Hazard talked about people, government workers living working in fear.
But that's
She was
that is
very dramatic. She was very
well,
dramatic about what she's getting from their membership, about the
I
relationship
was
between the government and
Kalistra.
their
I was
workers.
going to I was going to say that is inflammatory, but I prefer your words. That's dramatic. That is just being unduly dramatic because there's no mass termination of anybody in the public service. That's not happening.
Well, she didn't say mass
And
termination, but she said that a lot of the workers, there's mass hysteria, that
like
there's mass
who?
fear that they would lose their
There is
jobs.
no mass hysteria. That as you say, that is just being dramatic. The motive for being dramatic is beyond me. As I don't think the unions, including the Public Workers Union, can honestly say that they have been treated unfairly by this administration so far. In fact, those who are honest are saying this is the best treatment they've gotten in a long time.
Problems that we seem to have, and we've had it for a lot of years, is the backlog of cases in our court system at every tier, at every level. Right now, the lawyers are complaining there's just one judge on the bench, 116, either 116 or 111 cases in the October assizes, which just opened this week. Over 30 people on remand waiting for a hearing, or waiting for a date for a hearing, or waiting for their hearings to be completed. There's concern that justice is being interfered with because of all of the handicaps in our judicial system in Grenada, particularly at the administrative level. Do you know why we only have one judge? As the Minister of Legal Affairs, are you aware of these problems and concerned about them, as you should be if you are aware of them?
Yeah, I'm kind of sure it's no secret, and I have said it repeatedly since assuming office as the Attorney General and Minister for Legal Affairs, that we inherited a badly broken judicial system, a system that has been in neglect for many, many years. And it's across the judicial complex of government, encompassing the court and the Supreme Court Registry, and even the Office of the Attorney General, which, by the way, as we speak, is operating mostly remotely because we are to have new premises retrofitted for us, which is taking much longer than we anticipated. So we are all in the judicial arm of government, or the legal arm, I should not say the judicial arm, the legal arm of government operating under serious constraints, which we inherited and which we are working very hard to improve. Now, with respect to the situation with the court and the judge that we have one judge less than we are used to. That's because Justice Charles Clark retired a few months ago, and a replacement has not yet been named by the Chief Justice, in whose remit the appointment of judicial officers rests. So we are aware that we are one judge short. Um, but we are also short on physical facilities, including courtrooms. The lawyers at the bar can tell you that, especially the criminal court, it has been moved from the stadium to the old magistrates court to the trade center and everywhere in between over the years since Hurricane Ivan. And so while we work to provide adequate facilities, we are to allow the Honorable Chief Justice to do her bit, do what is within her authority and remit to identify a suitable replacement for Justice Charles Clark.
And so, well, the halls of justice, it's something that we heard a lot about while the NDC was in administration. How advanced are we now that you have the calm in moving forward with the halls of justice?
Well, Kalisha, earlier in the program you said to me that the minimum wages might be my biggest accomplishment, and I said to you it actually may not be. The Hall of Justice was one of the things I had in mind, because the cabinet has charged me with the responsibility to head the steering committee that will deliver a Hall of Justice to the people of Grenada. And the committee is busy doing its work, um, getting the designs completed, and the personnel in place to have the Hall of Justice project come to fruition. Um, we are meeting, we are working on matters such as financing. We will soon advertise for a project officer. We are putting other consultants and specialists in place who will assist us in delivering the Hall of Justice to the people of Grenada.
Do we have a ballpark figure already? Because we already had designs and funds and so on years ago. That got derailed. So now do we have a ballpark figure now as to how much
We
hope
do
to
not
spend?
have, yeah, in fact, the costing is one of the things that is right now under consideration, which is being done. So I wouldn't venture to disclose a figure just yet while the experts and technical people do their work in terms of advising government what the Hall of Justice will entail. What
What
I
about
can share with the public, what I can share is that, in fact, in full transparency, there was a ballpark of somewhere in the region of 27 to 30 million US previously. But given the situation with accommodation for offices across the legal complex, what we have considered and what we are considering is expanding the Hall of Justice project to include accommodation for um, a new courthouse in Carriacou, because if you've been to the courthouse in Caracol, it's just plain embarrassing. And accommodation for offices such as the Director of Public Prosecutions offices and the Ministry of Legal Affairs and AG's offices. So we are looking to expand the project to include these facilities, which is why I hesitate to give you a ballpark figure. These matters are all under review. They are work in progress, which is why there isn't much details I can divulge at this time. But rest assured, we are working feverishly on delivering the Hall of Justice and other offices covering spanning the legal complex to the people of Grenada, because our judicial system has been woefully neglected over the years. It is terrible, and I'm being very honest. I really applaud. I really applaud the staff at all of the offices, the staff at the magistrates courts throughout Grenada, the registry, well, we know, I think the public knows well the situation with the vault and the fact that we have had to close the vault because of health safety concerns. Um, and so we inherited a really dire situation. The registry staff is scattered. The staff at the Ministry of Legal Affairs is also scattered. So it's a serious situation. We are trying to arrest, and we hope to do so in as short as possible a time by delivering the Hall of Justice project.
So we might see some estimates in the 2024 budget for that?
You will see
Oh,
some.
that's
You
too
will
soon.
see.
And do
No,
we have,
you will see some funds allocated for the Hall of Justice in the 2024 budget.
oh, it's as soon as that. So that means we have identified a location. I know the parliament, the site of parliament was what was first designated for that project. At least that's what I understand it. Do we have a site?
Well, the site is the same area.
Okay, so you
The
can
site
prove it.
previously designated, and that site was identified since 2011. Huh?
I'm getting the dates. I'm getting the dates. 2011.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
since 2011
Under
identified.
the last
So
NDC administration.
under the last NDC administration, and the truth is, work was done back then, and not much was done after until about 2021, 2020, just before the last election. It was picked up again, but not much was accomplished. So we are moving forward, and we are determined to deliver this project to the people of Grenada.
And do we have a
And
specific timeline set for all that has to be done to get to the point of turning the keys?
we are advised that it would be in the region of 18 to 24 months. So from start of the project to commissioning. So
Okay.
we are hoping that we will get started in 2024. That's the hope.
And in terms of the financing, what are the possible sources of funding for this? Straight out of the Treasury, we're getting
No.
grants from
We have
on the
not. We
project
have
on.
not. No, we have not. We have not settled on these matters as yet. So
Okay.
I don't have information that I can share with the public on this particular aspect as yet.
Okay, the vault being closed, and this is my final question to you because I know you have to run off. The vault being closed at the registry, that must have some sort of impact on the issues that are dealt with there, the documents and so on that are kept there
Yes,
and that people have to access. So what's happening with it? Are they fixing the problem?
yes,
And
we've made alternative arrangements, um, including a combination of things. One is um, quite a number of the records at the Deeds and Land Registry, and that dates back to a project started in 2010 with the support of the World Bank, and it continued. And so we have quite a number of the records um, already digitized. And there is a platform that lawyers and the public, with the assistance of the staff at the registry, can access to do searches. So we have been relying heavily on that platform in the absence of the manual searches at the vault. And a lot of the documents have already been scanned. And in the instances where the document, the hard copy document needs to be retrieved, what we have done is that we have begun removing some of the documents most requisitioned to a safer location that it can be accessed by the public. So we have taken remedial steps, right, to clear and clean the vault and relocate the documents to another location.
All right. Well, Senator Claudette Joseph, thank you so much for joining me on The Narrative and spending this last hour with us. Thank you.
You're most welcome, and it's my pleasure to always come and share with the public what our government is doing, your government is doing to make for a better Grenada. And I just want to plug in here, inviting the residents surrounding the Carenage, of the Carenage and surrounding areas, to come on Sunday to the cleanup, the community cleanup, as the Carenage will be the centerpiece for the celebration of our 50th independence anniversary.
All right, and that's
Thank
a big
you.
thing. That's a big thing we have coming up, a bit controversial because of the date chosen for the launch, but certainly our jubilee is a big deal. So
We promised the
looking forward to that.
nation, we promised the nation a very enjoyable jubilee, one that they would be able to look back on with great pride and as a positive turning point in our journey as a people.
All right. And before you go, just to clarify, when you say your government, as a citizen of the country, because people keep saying your government is this and your government is that, and so we just want to know the minister is talking about me as a citizen, not anything else,
Of
folks.
course, your government, the people's government, we are here to serve everybody. We are here
Uh,
to serve everybody. We put down the colors when elections are over. Quite frankly, we should not be so color coded, if you ask me. But the
unless
government,
the red is included, unless the red is included.
well, we've already included the red, so
So,
so.
oh yes, you already took the red. So, oh.
But I mean, it really is it's our pleasure to serve the people of Grenada. And our aim is to do right by Grenada, and the team works. We work very closely together to achieve that objective in all things. Being human beings, being fallible human beings, we wouldn't always get it right. But I think the Grenadian people can see that we mean well, and so far we have been making the right decisions for the people of Grenada, not just for the people at present, but those in future, which is why we have, taken the policy position, for example, in relation to Crown lands, and so we mean to leave a better Grenada than we inherited.
All right, thank you so much. And of course, the decisions that you take now, time will tell on how well they work out for the people of Grenada. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're most welcome.
This is The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Vary, on there with Senator Claudette Joseph, Grenada's Minister of Legal Affairs and Labor, as well as the Attorney General of the country. More when we come back.